Oh, Mama Liza,
Mama Jane.
oh, Mama Liza,
Mama Jane.
I got a girl in Baltimore,
Mama Jane.
where she goes no one knows.
Mama Jane.
Oh, Mama Liza.
I'm Joey Walker, board member at Reedville Fisherman's Museum, and welcome to our lecture series.
Okay, I'm Gail Starrett, board member of the museum, and we'd like to welcome Lloyd Hill from Lancaster County with us today.
Okay. I'm Lloyd Hill. I'm here today for an interview. Very pleased to join you for this occasion.
Okay.
And we're going to start with Mr. Hill telling us about his family, early life, roots in the Chesapeake Bay area.
Well, again, I'm Lloyd Hill. I was born in 1940 in Whitestone, Virginia. You can imagine being a young black kid growing up in the 40s, that life was not that easy. However, I had a loving family, mom and dad. Didn't have the best of everything, but they really gave me the best of everything that they had. They put a lot into me. When I was 4.5 years old, I developed polio. And because I developed polio, they always would look after me, take care of me. When I developed polio, I really didn't know I had polio. I thought I had just some childhood disease on my groin that would go away. But the doctors came and decided that you need to get this boy to the hospital. I remember very distinctly that they put me in the back of a 1927 Studebaker rumple seat. Bumped me up, bandaged me up, and took me to medical college in Virginia. And that's where I stayed for 5.5 months. On long, went through the whole 9 yards. Through God's grace and mercy, I was able to come out with no ill effects, but everyone ever thought that because I had polio that I never would amount to much. You can imagine being poor, being black, 1940 in Virginia, polio, the chances of having a successful life was very, very remote. But again, things worked out for me. I got stronger. Mom and them didn't pet me. They allowed me to run, jump, and do all kind of crazy things like Superman, jumping out of trees. And I got stronger. So I was able to go into the military. I went into the military right after high school. Went up to the rank of Staff Sergeant E6. And then because of the Vietnam War, they needed some bullet blockers. And so anybody want to be a bullet blocker? So I volunteered to
Sounds fun.
go to OCS. And I was in the infantry, so I signed up for Infantry, Armor, and Artillery OCS. In their wisdom, they sent me to engineer school. So I completed engineer school in Fort Belvoir, Virginia. And I stayed on as a TAC officer and taught there for about 8 months, took 2 classes through, and then I went to Vietnam as a second lieutenant. I went to Vietnam as second lieutenant, and I volunteered to stay over Vietnam for an extra month so that I could make captain in Vietnam. During that time, you went from first lieutenant to second lieutenant in 1 year, and another year you would make captain. I didn't want to come back to the States as a first lieutenant and then make captain in my new unit. So I volunteered to stay an extra month so that I came back to the States as a brand new captain. So I went over Vietnam as a second lieutenant and came back as a captain. So that was kind of unique to me. In my high school days, I was a pretty good athlete. I played everything. I guess I was testing my new legs and I was just running and jumping. I captained my baseball team. I captained my football team. I was student body president. I was a salutatorian on my class. In airborne school, I was the top leadership graduate in airborne school. I was a distinguished military graduate. So I was hot to trot, as they say. I was moving ahead. I was really thought I was going to go big places and do great things. But at some point in time, after after Vietnam, I came back to the States, and then the Army started to kind of wind down. I served 2 tours, so winding down. And then said, we need to get rid of some of these folks. So by this time, I had 20-some years in the Army. And I was stationed at Alcorn State University teaching professor of military science. And he said, what do you want to do? I said, well, if you let me stay here for 4 years, I'll retire. So I retired at Alcorn State and stayed on and became the athletic business manager. Later on, I became the athletic director. So that come full circle. Now here I am. I became a shanty singer almost by accident, if you want to hear that story. My uncle was one of the shanty singers leaders, and he needed someone to be sort of like a spokesperson for him. And I said, man, I've never been on a fish boat. I've been on a fish boat, but just as a pleasure, not doing it fishing, because my father was a captain, and he took me on the boat with him. He said, I just need somebody to introduce a song, so I agreed. And so I became a shanty singer as a spokesperson. I would introduce a song, tell a little bit about what was happening, and lead through that way. So I became very immersed in it. Once I started doing it, I kind of enjoyed it. And we would travel all over the East Coast. And during this time, before COVID, there was a lot of money involved for the humanities. Humanities, yeah. So people would pay money to come see us. We went to National Folk Museum, East Coast, up all over. So it was a great time.
You were like rock stars. Someone said you were like rock stars.
Yeah.
In the time. But you said when you were growing up in Whitestone that you were poor. And
yeah, well, I said poor.
But say that.
We were so poor that we couldn't even spell poor with 2 O's. We were just P-O-P-O.
Get the 2 O's.
We lived in a shotgun house. My mom and dad and 6 siblings. Now, a shotgun house is a 2-room house. Yeah. You have a front room and a back room. The front room, I guess, is where the kitchen, that stuff. The back room was the bedroom, living room, sitting room, all the room. Mom and dad was on one side, and us kids were on the other side. We slept on what we call a paddle, which was a pad or something on the floor. I didn't sleep in a bed until I was in the military. All my sleeping was done on, well, I guess when I went into the hospital, I was on the bed. But at home, I didn't get into bed. Yeah. I just knew that times were tight, but everybody was in the same boat. Yeah. So I didn't see myself any different than my friends. Yeah. We all doing the same thing. I went to school with shoes with holes in them, but I put cardboard in the bottom. Yeah. When the flap would come off, I took a wire to wire it back together. Mm-hmm. In the winter, I put socks over my shoes because I didn't have no galoshes, but everyone else was going through the same thing. Yeah. In my school, for example, we had wood stoves that during recess, the kids that go bring in wood. Mm-hmm. We had all soaked wood floors that they were swabbing with kerosene oil of motor oil to keep the dust down. Yeah. Can you imagine the fire hazard that was? A pot-bellied red stove.
Right, and oil-soaked floors.
Wood-soaked floor. You know, we had no bathroom was down by the field. The library doubled as a classroom. The cafeteria doubled as a classroom, no science. But again, growing up in that environment, the teachers were a part of the community. Yeah. So because they were part of the community, you saw them at school, you saw them at grocery store, you saw them at church. And they knew mom and dad, whatever. Yeah. And if the teacher said, Lord did so-and-so, that was it. Lord, you did it. Today, if the teacher said you did it, the parents are more likely to side with the kid. Mm-hmm. Mom then would never do that. If Ms. Jones said, Lord did so-and-so, boy, you did that. And even though I might not have done it, but in their eyesight, the teacher was always right. The preacher was always right. Yeah. That has changed now. We we have parents who are growing up to try to be more friends than parents. They won't be buddy, but I think you got to be parent first and friends come later. So people say that kids are different. The only thing different is that adults have changed. We have stopped expectations. We have started accepting mediocrity. We don't hold kids accountable.
Well, tell us, you said your family, you lost relatives to the fishing industry, and which was one reason your mother didn't want you to go into that.
Yeah, well, I come from a fishing industry. My grandfather was a fisherman. He died on a fish boat. My uncle died on a fish boat. My brother died on a fish boat. My father died, no, my father went down with the fish boat, but he was so ornery, they didn't want him. He came back up.
Spitting back out.
Yeah. In 1958, the Sea Girt, he was part of the Sea Girt that sunk, but every man aboard was saved.
What date, what year was that?
That was like in 1958.
58.
That Sea Girt, yeah.
Sea Girt. We'll have to look that up.
Yeah, the idea was that there was no way my mom was going to allow me to go fishing. During that time, that was the only outlet for young men when you graduate high school.
Yeah.
You either go fishing or you went into the military or you stayed home working on the farm. So after my brother died, uncle died, everybody drowned, Mom was not going to let me do that. So I guess she decided going to Vietnam was more safer, you know.
So your family was in the menhaden business, or was it like in the
Menhaden.
the trap boats, or?
Yeah, my father would crab during the crabbing season, oyster during the oyster season, trap fish, and then from May until October, he would go to Louisiana and Mississippi to fish for the menhaden.
Okay.
Then when he come back up, he had his own boat, and then he would fish his boat. Yeah.
And your brother died on a fish boat too. Your brother drowned on a fish boat?
Yeah, my brother drowned in Louisiana on a fish boat. My uncle drowned on a fish boat, and my grandfather. And as I said, Dad went down, but they didn't want him.
Dad came back.
Yeah, he popped on back up.
So, are there stories about the waterman trade that you remember? Stories
Well,
or anything
one
that
thing
you
about
went
the
through?
waterman trade, they always was a hardy bunch. I mean, they always, they seemed like they always would stick together. They always seemed, even though it was hard work, it seemed like they was having fun. It seemed like it was a glamorous life because you leave home and go to another life for 6 months and come back. So I know the family left was kind of lonely, but for the men, they all seemed to enjoy that way of life. It was rough life. It was a dangerous living. But that's how they made their livings. 6 months of a year, they go to Louisiana, go to Mississippi, go to Delaware, and fish, and then they come back for the other half of the year and do crabbing or oystering or pound netting or whatever. So life was rough, but again, everybody was going through the same thing, so you didn't really see it as being that bad.
What traditions were important to your family as a child? Do you remember specific family traditions?
Growing up, my mom would always tell us that mother may have, father may have, but bless the child that has its own. I mean, that you cannot depend on your mom and dad for everything. You got to get out and get it. Life is not going to be fair. You take life as it is and make the best of it. She would tell me the fair is something that happened in Richmond in October. Life's not to be fair. You just have to do the best you can. And so that's how we grow up. Just making the best of a bad situation. Realize that in this life, sometimes you got to be better than the next person if you want to get ahead. Whatever it takes. Good, better, best. Never rest until you good become better. You better become best. That kind of idea. Just keep at it. Never quitting. Never giving up. Because really, it's not the first chop on the tree that brings it down. It's that last one. So you got to keep chopping at it, keep chopping at it.
I was going to say, you play a lot of Billie Holiday around your house?
Billie Holiday.
Father may have a
Yeah, mother. Yeah, that's
So,
Billy. Yeah. Yeah, my mom. That was my mom's favorite. She would
Really?
always tell us that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the whole idea is that a lot of people today, they prepare their kids for the road. No, you prepare your kids for the road, not the road for your kids. No, you get your kids ready to deal with life, whatever it is.
Take care of their
Not trying to make
business.
it easy for them. You make your kids realize there'll be ups and downs, good and bad, but when you fall down, you dust yourself off and get back up. Success is not forever, and failure is not fatal. It's going to be up and down. You get back up and keep going. So, yeah.
What are some of the things that you actually had to go through?
Well,
Specifically
doing-
you or your family?
during segregation time, again, you become accustomed to things, and you see it as norm, and you don't really think about it that much. We knew that we had substandard buildings. We had no heat, no air. We knew that we didn't have no lockers, no labs, none of that. We didn't have no football team, none of that. We had secondhand books, but we had teachers who were dedicated to get the best out of us, and they kept pushing us to really get ahead. I remember when I was a kid, I worked for Donald's Supermarket. It's now Jim's in Whitestone. I was a stock boy, and I would work there after school and work there on weekend. I would go around the corner to the drugstore for lunch and buy a ham sandwich, but I couldn't eat it there. I'd take the ham sandwich and go out. So
You couldn't eat it at the...
no, ma'am.
This would have been in the 50s.
No,
Right.
I couldn't.
Is that in the 50s?
Yeah, yeah. That'd be like 51, 52. Yeah. In fact, the first like rebellion that I had against segregation, I was 18. I was in the military. I came home on leave, and during that time, a bus would stop in Warsaw, and another bus in Warsaw to bring me to Whitestone. So I caught the bus and stopped in Warsaw, and I went to the counter and ordered a hamburger in uniform. And this had to be in like 58, 59. And the lady brought it over and said, "You can't eat it here." And I left it there and walked away. Yeah, and this is like 58, 59. I'm in uniform, looking cute in my little uniform.
It didn't matter.
Didn't matter. Did not matter.
And that was in Warsaw?
Warsaw, yeah, Warsaw used to have was like a way station.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because evidently the bus would come from Reedville through Warsaw as well.
Yeah. And I came from wherever I came from, stopped in Warsaw, then waiting on another bus to bring me down to Whitestone. And I ordered me a hamburger. I'm looking good. She said, "Can you eat here?" So.
Oh, that,
Yeah.
Speaking of military, going back to your military service, you got any thoughts about the military and kids today?
Yeah, well, for me, my generation, the military was able to lift me from a lower class to the middle class. And the military did that through the GI Bill.
Yep.
It allowed me to build a house. It allowed me medical, allowed me education. So because of the military, I ended up getting 2 master's degrees. First of all, I ended up getting a BS and 2 master's degrees all through the military. Debt free. I was able to buy a couple houses without having down payment. I was able, myself and my wife, to go get medical without payment. So I think the young blacks today are missing a grave advantage by not taking part in the military. Military gives you a chance to see the world, to see how other people live, to experience other things. And again, your education benefits, your health benefits, your housing, you just can't stop that. More young folks have to look at the military as the price you pay for being part of the United States. I think everybody should have some kind of service.
Yeah. I think it helps a young man find
Yeah.
what he's going to do in life. And,
Yeah.
You know, whether he likes the military or not, he's having had the experience.
Women?
And women.
And women.
There's
Yeah, y'all leave the women out.
Well, there's a debate
Yeah.
about women in combat, but
Yeah.
but women definitely have a place in the. I don't mean it.
Yeah, you're getting, you're just digging it deeper. So what local people stood out to you as role models or change makers?
When I was growing up, I really loved my ag teacher, a guy named Mr. Dudley. To me, he was probably one of the, I guess, intelligent people around. He not only was an ag teacher, he was a coach. He taught us parliamentary procedure. He taught us a little bit of woodworking. I wasn't into that all that much, but I loved the parliamentary procedure. I loved the public speaking, and I love the fact that he was our coach. So he was the one that stood out the most.
He was at your
then
school? Which school?
Mr. Dudley.
What school?
A.T. Wright. A.T. Wright. He was the ag teacher at A.T. Wright. Mr. Allen Ball was also one that stood out. Allen Ball was kind of ahead of his time. He was always pushing, you know, to go vote, you know, get involved.
Wonderful man.
You knew him?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was always doing that.
Didn't he play the piano? Play the piano? I think no, I said, didn't he play the piano?
I'm not sure about that.
I think he did.
Yeah.
I think he did.
His wife is still living in 96. Yeah, but Allen Ball and Dudley were the two that kind of stood out in my mind. But again, all of our teachers, because they were community people, and they didn't come and go. They stayed.
How about your shanty singer experiences? Can you tell us a little bit
As I said earlier,
how it started?
My shanty singing came about because my Uncle Calvin asked me to be the spokesperson. But the shanty singing as a group came about because in 1994, they needed a group to perform some music for a 4th of July celebration. And the museum contacted Mr. William Hutner, who had been a lifelong fisherman, was a deacon in church, to see if he could get a group together. And he managed to get together some other fishermen who were deacons, and they formed the Northern Shanty Singers. And it became so popular that after that 4th of July, they kept performing. And then Mr. Hutner got older, and he retired, and people came. So the Shanty Singers they were coming and going. When I was with them, I was the youngest, and at that time, I was like 65 when I first started. I was the youngest. Most of them was 80, 85, and 90. Right now, currently, there are only 3 of us left. I'm at 85, the other young man is at 86, and we have another young man at 87. All the rest of us are gone.
Oh, I didn't know. I thought you were the last.
No,
Two others?
there's a gentleman named Lewis Blackwell that lives in Heathville, and there's a gentleman that's named Listen Fraser, who we just brought on, hadn't been with us that long in Whitestone. Yeah.
And then you all traveled all over the East Coast.
Yeah. We were fortunate that, as I said, when we were hot. Before COVID, before the money drew up, we went up to Maine, Massachusetts, the National Folk Museum, Delaware. I don't know, there's so many places.
Didn't you make up some of the words? Didn't you make up some of the words to the songs, or were they already established? Did you make them up?
A lot of songs comes from your military experience, and I would use like Bo Diddley that we had in the military,
Yeah.
and I would put that in with chanty singers.
Yeah.
Hey, Bo Diddley, you know,
Yeah.
and I would do that for chanty singers. Yeah.
Jody's, yeah.
And I could do a little bit of rhyming, so I could say, look at the captain, he don't look too bright. Somebody said he can't read or write, you know.
Yeah, tell us more of that. Give us some of the things. But some of it was handed down over the years.
They're handed down from boat to boat. I mean, there's no copyright or anything. You just hear something, it sticks in your mind, and you do it, and y'all on the water. No one's out there but you, the seagulls, and the fish. So you can sing about anything you want to sing about. And they can get a little risque.
Yeah.
You know, so you have to for public shows, you had to clean it up a little bit. But if we was out on the water, a bunch of men, we talk about ladies, we talk about everything, you know. You might say,
Do some of it.
I don't know.
Yeah, do some of it.
Get your beep ready.
I'll try to put the beep in the right place.
Beep.
I'm going to edit this out.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to edit that out.
One time we sang this, Mama Liza. Hey, Mama Liza, Mama Liza Jane. Hey, Mama Liza Jane. I got a girl that lives on the hill, Mama Liza Jane. She won't do it, but her sister will. Yeah, something like that, you know. Yeah.
You don't need to edit that out.
That's semi. That's PG-13.
That's okay, yeah. That's PG-13. PG-13.
Yeah.
In today's world, they might be teaching in kindergarten. So.
Yeah, true. But they didn't just have the songs. You winged it a lot. You all did improv a lot.
Well, the idea is that when you have encircle the fish, you know, and you're trying to get them in, sometimes the fish is fighting hard to stay, and you're fighting hard to pull, and you need some extra something to get them in, and that's when you hit the shanties and you sing this inch by inch, just inch by inch, you pull them, and finally you get them. And it seemed like when you hit the shanties that people would get more enthused, more into it. Really? And you talk to one another. Look at them, man. Come on, pull. Come on, you ain't doing yourself. You know, and you
takes your mind off the strain.
Right. You take your mind. See, contrary to popular belief, when we're singing, we're not singing because we're happy. We're singing because it takes your mind off the drudgery of what you're doing. You know, and again, misery enjoys company. You know, all of us same thing, so you keep on. Yeah, so that's how that works.
Were they all black men or were they white?
No, mostly
the
crew members pulling net were black in the old days. The captain would be white, and possibly the pilot might be white, but the mate would be black because the mate was responsible for hiring the crew, and he would know who the men are who would fish, so he would hire the crew. But the captain would be white. He owned the boat.
But there were black captains.
Huh?
There were
black captains. Not initially, but they were.
Like what
later
year?
On.
Like in the 60s or 70s?
Yeah. Like my father was a black captain on the bay. Cal Curry was a black. Samuel Gaskin, Gus Dunaway, all those were captains. Yeah.
For Zapata, Omega, what was it? What was the company? Or was it down in Louisiana? Or
at the time it was Manhattan.
Reedville Oil or Zapata.
Yeah.
Zapata.
Yeah, Zapata. Yeah.
So the crew originally was all black, though. The crew originally was all black?
Yeah, the crew originally was all black. But what happened lately, you'll find a lot of whites now in the crews.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of jobs that whites wouldn't do, now they don't mind doing them. You know, so
well, it's
a lot
with the hydraulics. And
yeah, a lot of guys are not in the fishing. Now, for example, when my father was crabbing, that's what all the black crabbers on the Rappahannock River owned their own boats, had their own license. Now you probably will not find a black crabber on the Rappahannock River.
Why is that?
They all stopped, and the children didn't take it over, and then they sold their license. They capped the number of licenses you could have for crabbing. Let's say, I just don't know, it says it was at 100. I don't know what the number is. It was 100. So if it's at 100, no one else can get one until someone else dies and turn them in.
Oh.
So you had 100 crab license, and those crabbers held on to the license. As they died, the wives didn't know what to do with them, so they sold them. And now the crabbers, only white people have the crab license. There aren't any black crabbers. And the same thing, just the watermen as a black way of living on this part of North make us a thing of the past.
Just because of that? Because the children didn't?
Well, The men got old, the children didn't take it over, and the wives just sold a license.
I wasn't aware of that. Why do we still have segregated churches?
Because they must think when we go up there that we're segregated up there too, Mr. Ferdinand.
Why do we have black and white churches? I mean, separate churches.
People feel more comfortable around people that look like them and act like them and have their same values. So black churches started because white churches ran them out. That's how black churches started. Black churches started because white churches didn't want them. So black churches started.
And it's just continued?
Yeah.
Don't you think that's part of the reason there's separation now? Because that's a big part of people's lives.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a big part of separation is because people see their way of life changing. And whenever you see changes coming, you fight to hold on to the status quo.
Well, do you think there's a trust issue between white and black people, a trust?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
in your experience growing up, would you say there's a trust issue?
Well, if we go back 1619,
Here you go, you're going to educate me again.
1619, you know, people were kidnapped from the continent of Africa,
Right.
put in chains, loaded on slave ships, brought across the Atlantic and landed in Jamestown, 1619.
Right.
And then not kept as slaves, not able to read or write. And then 100-some years later said, okay, the Emancipation Proclamation, you're free. Free to do what? You can't read, you can't write. So then they're still slaves. And then those in Texas, they didn't know they were free then. That's what Juneteenth came in. They didn't know they were free. Major Jim Granger rode into Galveston, Texas on June the 19th, 1865, said three things. Texas, you lost the war. Slaves, you are free. And the other thing, war's over, something, you know. Texas, you lost. But the slaves said, what I's gonna do, master? What I's gonna do? I's got no money. I's got no education. I's can't read. I's can't write. What I's gonna do? I's gonna stay here with you, master. I's gonna stay with you. And then they said, okay, you stay with me. We're gonna start sharecropping. Sharecropping means that you work for me. I'm gonna give you part of your crop, but you ain't gonna never get out of that hole. I ain't gonna never give you enough of that hole. That's how that started.
So it's not much better.
I mean, but they had nothing. They had nothing. See, and then
But education's the key then. Education's the key.
it's but how can you
Is
overcome 400 years of that?
But is education equal now, fair now?
I don't know.
You were in education.
Education is the key. I agree with that. Education is the key. But you had such a deep hole to dig out of 400 years. And then you had the Jim Crow part of it. Then you had systemic racism part of it. It's just hard to dig out of that.
What do you think the family situation has to play in it?
Yeah. Well,
Nuclear family, fathers and mothers.
The separation of family really started back during slavery on the auction blocks. When the white massa separated family, they started absentee fathers. They separated families. They separated children. That's where that started from. Yeah, and I'd be the first to admit, young black men are not taking care of their responsibilities to their kids. They're making too many kids and going off and leaving them. And our system is such that it makes it easier for a young lady to survive after having a kid. You know, once you had a kid, it was looked at as some sort of a stigma, and you didn't really want to have that. Now people have 2 or 3 kids because the system will take care of them. Yeah.
Well, you've had a successful career in education too.
Yeah,
Tell us about that. You were head of JROTC, and
Yeah,
you left-
when I retired from the Army, I taught GROTC in Mississippi for 14 years, and then I went back to Alcorn State and organized the athletic business department. I became the first athletic business manager at Alcorn State, and then 18 months later, I became the athletic director. I was athletic director for 5 years at Alcorn. I was athletic director during the time of Steve McNair, during the time of Don Driver. These are two well-known football players. I came home in 2000 when my wife's mom came down with Alzheimer's. And my first thought was, I had the best job of my life. And now my wife wants to go home and look after her mama. So my first thought was, okay, you go home and look after your mama, I'm gonna stay here and work. But my kids said, Dad, that ain't right. Say, Mom had traveled with you all over the world, and now when she needs you, you saying, you go home and look after your mama, I'm gonna stay here. So make a long story short, we both had enough time to retire. She worked in the post office, and I had enough time at Alcorn to retire because I had retired from the military, and when I worked in the state, I also counted towards military when I worked 4 more years. So make a long story short, I had enough time to retire from the state again. So I retired from federal and I retired from the state. My wife retired from the post office. We both came home in 2000 to look after her mother. And then her mother died maybe, I don't know, maybe a year or so after we got here. But part of that, when we came home too, my daughter was working at the Pentagon doing 9/11. And my daughter was working at the Pentagon, and her husband was working in Congress. So here, we're at home looking at on TV and seeing these planes, and so what's going on here? And my thoughts were that my granddaughter was going to come home, and both her mom and dad are going to be gone, because the Pentagon had been hit where my daughter was, and it was on the way to Congress. So my wife and I jumps in the car, drives up to Northern Virginia to be there when my granddaughter got off the bus, because we didn't know if her mom and dad would be there. Make a long story short, they both survived. My daughter was at Pentagon when he got hit, but she crawled out, was safe, and the plane that was going away to Congress never made it. That ended up in Pennsylvania. Yeah. And then the Army, in its wisdom, sent both my daughter and her husband to Iraq. Okay, they were in Germany, and again, we were faced with a decision was, do we take our daughter out of school, bring her here? We made the decision to go to Germany and stay with our granddaughter, which we thought was going to be like maybe a month or so. Ended up staying with a whole year. But anyway, it all worked out.
So family's been number one for you.
Yeah.
Even though you've had a vast career, your family has always driven your decisions.
The fact that your children lobbied for you to come back here with your wife because they knew that was the right thing to do shows that you taught them well.
Well, I don't know, but they I guess they got next to me. I realized they were right. You know, I realized
you just needed somebody else to say it.
I needed somebody to say it because I'm giving up the best job of my life. The athletic director at the Division I school.
But to support the best woman in your life.
That's the best job of your life. I mean, I got everything. I got the athletic field, the gymnasium, the natatorium. I mean, I got it all.
You're mad about it. You're like,
Still salty about it.
And I give it up. I mean, I got box seats wherever I go. I mean, to the stadium, I got box seats. I mean, all the stadium. I mean, if we go to Annapolis, I got box seats. I mean, and I got to come home to White Stone.
But you had a petticoat what is it called? A petticoat government in your family? You have a petticoat government in your family? You just have 2 girls, 2 daughters.
I have 2 sons and a daughter.
2 sons and a daughter.
Yeah.
Oh, so the son told you to give it all up? and
Yeah,
come
my son retired as a colonel in the Army. My daughter retired as a lieutenant colonel. She's married to a major general who retired. And my son retired as a captain. He didn't retire. He got out after Desert Storm, Desert Shield. They all served in the military. After Desert Storm, Desert Shield, back there, I guess in the 90s, he got out.
Well, which one was getting her grapes peeled? Was it the daughter? The daughter was getting the grapes peeled, or the son?
Yeah, my daughter. My daughter, when I came back from Vietnam, you know, they all happened to see me, and my wife was doing her thing. Bless her heart. She was doing what she's supposed to do, I guess. She was peeling grapes. She was cooking breakfast a la carte. I mean, kids, I want French toast. I want scrambled eggs. I say, honey, what are you doing? That's what they like, you know. So I said, no, you cooking one thing. If they're hungry, they eat it. If they don't, they don't. And this one,
When's the plane leave?
what day they going back to Vietnam? I don't
really
upset
did
the whole apple
You
cart.
did, yeah.
Yeah,
So you really deserve to have to come home to Whitestone. When you,
yeah.
Made that poor girl eat grape skins.
Yeah. But you know, they all turned out well despite me. Despite.
they did.
And I say, one of the greatest rewards you can have as a parent is live long enough to see your parents, to live long enough to see your kids become responsible parents. Mm-hmm. You know, and then one of the rewards is also know that they turned out okay despite all the crazy stuff you were doing. You know, because my wife stuck with me when I was young and dumb to allow me to be old and wiser. Mm-hmm. You know, and God's grace and mercy stuck with me that I was making dumb decisions. You know, he didn't allow my crazy decisions to destroy me. It could have. A lot of decisions it could have destroyed me, but it didn't. Not anything I did, it just didn't turn out that way. You know, my polio could destroy me. A lot of people with polio have ill effects, you know, but it didn't. So that's God's grace and mercy.
So what do you hope people will learn from hearing your story?
I would hope that they would learn that to never give up, that sometimes you fall down, that you simply brush yourself off and get up and keep going, that success is not forever, but failure is not fatal. You know, life has got crooks and turns and ups and downs, that with a family, you got to stay together. See, a lot of people think that family is blood. No, blood makes you related. Family is caring, is devotion, looking out for one another. That's family. So family got to be unified to look out for one another. I hope that comes through, that's most important, to look out for one another. Do not air your dirty laundry in public. What's behind closed doors, let it stay there. Work it out. You can work it out. People cannot argue by themselves. They need someone else to fuel that. So as long as just absent yourself away, get away, and then come back to the situation, and most time and work it out. I'm lucky enough to have a home big enough that if my wife and I get in a little disagreement, she can be over there watching TV, I can be over here watching TV. You know, so, and then at some point in time we can come together. If not, she's still over there, still there. Because at this point, I'm not going anywhere. What I look like with a half a house, half a car, half a, what I mean?
Just too expensive.
Yeah.
Plus, she probably takes care of you some too.
Well, I mean,
You take care of each
I'm
other?
not suggest we've grown old together, and we'll just hang in there. I mean, she might want to leave me, but I ain't leaving her. I mean,
So if you leave me, I'm coming with
you couldn't pry me
you.
away.
If you leave me, I'm coming with you.
Yeah.
So we're done. If you don't have anything else to add, or anybody else have any questions?
Okay.
You have anything else
I don't
to
have anything to add. Y'all
We
drained
appreciate
me.
it. We drained.
That's good. That's good, yeah.
Well, we appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So, you said checks in the mail?
Checks in the mail, yeah. That's why I wanted your address.
Checks
You
in the mail.
believe it.
Checks in the mail.
Get up here.
That'll work. Thank you so very much.
I will call you when.
Raise 'em, boys. Won't you help Peter raise 'em, boys? Won't you help me to raise 'em, boys? Oh, the weight's on the captain boat.
Come on with him.
Oh, the weight's on the captain boat.
Come on with him.
Oh, the weight's on the captain boat.